Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Peak Signing Agents Podcast, where I'm helping you become the best notary and signing agent that you can be. My name is Derek Van Otten. You can call me DVO. I am your host. I own a nationwide signing service called Peak Signing based out of Utah, and you can find me on social media at Peak Signing. Well, on this episode, I want to talk about a form that has come up twice this week from my signing service, but not that it came up, because it's going to be in almost every loan package that you see. Anyone borrowing, refinancing, buying a mortgage, they will most likely have to have a Patriot Act filled out on their behalf. And I'll give a little background on the Patriot Act here in just a moment. But I'm also going to not just talk about the Patriot Act itself, but when someone is signing on behalf of a power of attorney. I'll also give a little bit of background on that because just this week, I had two borrowers, two different states, two different loan packages, two different loan numbers, where one party was signing on behalf of another party. And so they had a power of attorney. And the Patriot Act form came up, and both notaries were asking questions about how should they fill this out. Now, again, I'll give a little bit of background on the Patriot Act and power of attorney real quick before we get into it, how to fill it out properly. So the Patriot Act, I'm not going to go into why the law was created for the Patriot Act or even the conspiracy theories surrounding the whole Patriot Act. But in essence, for us to know as signing agents, the Patriot Act is what's in place by the mortgage company where we are verifying that we saw their identity. And they are the person signing, the person borrowing. They are that person that we as the notaries public or notary signing agents are saying, yes, this is the person that's in front of me. Based off of their ID, and, the Patriot Act will say whether they want one or two forms of ID. But if they want one form, it's most likely going to be a government-issued ID that shows their name, signature, and description. Eye color, hair color, height, weight, where were they born, things like that. And we as notaries public should be verifying people's ID, verifying that it is them if we do not know who they are. And so that's what the Patriot Act's for. Most banking institutions, mortgage companies are going to have some type of Patriot Act in place where if somebody's opening up a new account, even if it's a checking account, they need to provide their ID as part of the Patriot Act. Okay, that's the Patriot Act. Power of attorney, real quick background on power of attorney. Power of attorney is somebody, an individual, is signing on behalf of another individual for certain reasons. Maybe they are abroad, they are in the military and they are overseas, they are traveling, they'll be traveling for weeks or months at a time and they know things are happening. They're incapacitated in some, for some reason they're getting elderly, and so they want to grant someone power of attorney to sign on their behalf on items. And so that is what a power of attorney is. Now, when it comes to signing full set of documents, go to episode 75 of the Peak Signing Agents podcast here. So Peak Signing Agents YouTube channel podcast, go to episode 75 to understand how should they be signing when it comes to capacity. But we're only talking about the Patriot Act on this episode. So how should the Patriot Act be filled out? So let me give a scenario. Let's just say John Doe is buying a house. John Doe is overseas. John Doe is in Australia. For whatever reason, he's in Australia. At the same time, he's buying a home. Well, John Doe gives power of attorney to his spouse, Jane Doe. So Jane Doe will be signing all the mortgage documents. And the mortgage company is going to state how she should be signing the documents. Again, go to episode 75 to know more about capacity, whether it's a trust, a power of attorney, LLC, whatever. Go to that episode. Anyway, the Patriot Act has John Doe's name on it because he is the one getting the loan in his name, right? So John Doe's name is on the Patriot Act. However, You are not meeting with John Doe since he is in Australia in this example. You are meeting with Jane. You are verifying Jane's ID. So the Patriot Act, and again, it will say we require one form or we require two forms. And if you're not sure, it doesn't really state one or two. If you're not really sure, it doesn't hurt to put two. If they needed one and you put two, that's fine. If they needed two and you put one, there's an issue. You see what I mean? So if you can't tell, it should say it, but if you can't tell, feel free to use two. Anyway, you are verifying Jane's ID. You are verifying Jane is in front of you. So when it comes to the Patriot Act, during a power of attorney, even though it says John's name, you will be signing, or I should say you will be filling in Jane's information. Jane's information will go in there. Even though it says John's name on there, you are going to put, let's just say Jane's using her driver's license. You are going to mark state issued driver's license, and you're going to put the state. Let's just say she's in Utah. The ID number, her date of birth, the issue date, the expiration date, whatever the Patriot Act wants filled in, you are filling that in on Jane's information. And there's usually a place on a Patriot Act that says comments or memo, and that is where you write this in. Doesn't have to be verbatim, doesn't have to be exactly what I'm saying, but just on these lines, because maybe when that time comes up, you won't remember exactly what I said here, but you always refer to this episode. However, you will write in some type of capacity or form that driver's license, let's just say she used driver's license. Driver's license information is based off of John Doe, who is signing as power of attorney for John Doe. All right, you're going to put that in the comments, in the memo. Most Patriot Acts I've seen, I think all of them I've seen, will have some type of memo line or comment line. And we usually don't have to worry about this, right? We just usually put in the information of the person. But in this example, that is what you will write there. Let me give you another example, though. We recently had someone whose name was Richard, and his ID said Ricky. Ricky is short for Richard. He had other forms of ID to prove that his name was also Richard. He had a birth certificate, social security number, also the mortgage. But the notary was sure. They contacted us, the signing service. We, the signing services, reached out to the mortgage and title company and asked about it. We said, hey, there might be an issue here. The mortgage company said, we are aware. He also goes by Ricky. We are fine if the notary is okay. If the notary is okay with that ID, if it's law abiding, that they can use that ID that says Ricky, even though their legal name is Richard, with other forms of ID that prove his name is Richard. And he had an expired passport that also matched his picture and information. The notary said it's okay. In my state, it's lawful. I can use this. In that comments section, that would have been a good place also to say, driver's license showed the name as Ricky. Expired passport showed the name as Richard. Mortgage company gave the approval, it's okay. And based by my state laws, that is okay to use this driver's license. So that's another reason to use that comment section. But this episode, we're talking about power of attorney on the Patriot Act, and that is how you fill it out. Okay, you would use the person who's in front of you, the person who's actually signing the paperwork, no matter what name is on the document, the person that's actually signing the paperwork, you will put their information on the Patriot Act, and you'll use the comments to say this person, in this example, Jane Doe, is signing as power of attorney for John Doe, who is overseas or in Australia. All right, and that is how you will do the Patriot Act when it comes to a power of attorney. I hope that helps, and if it does, please subscribe on YouTube and follow on all the podcast platforms. And if you know anyone that could benefit, please share it. And keep doing awesome work. I'll talk to you next episode. Bye.